Hello, Dr. Len. I'm Chris Bishop. I know you and I have spoken several times and have also been in touch by email about a case. I wanted to let you know that I am visiting Singapore for actually a family occasion of my husband's family. But I planned to meet up with my friend Poi Ling Low, who was on the prosthodontics graduate program at Indiana University at about the same time as me. And after we got together today and we got talking, it turns out that her daughter is now a dentist and wants to do graduate prosthodontics. So I thought it might be helpful for me to say a few words to Tung in the presence of the video camera to send to you to help you possibly consider her as a candidate for the program. I'm going to start though by having her mother, Dr. Poi Ling Low, say a few words to you about her presence in the prosthodontics community here in Singapore. Poi Ling, it's been so nice to get back together with you and spend the day with you today. Thank you so much for hosting us. Can you tell Dr. Lin a little bit about yourself and how you and I met in Indiana?
Yep, sure, Chris. Thanks. Actually, Dr. Lin, how are you? This is Poi Ling here. And I'm very grateful that Chris coming here to visit the family, and then we met up, and then now talking about helping my daughter to get into a residency program. Well, let me start this. I was in IU, PUI, 1988 to 1991. So the PROS program actually has given me a lot of good memory and teach me a lot. And I was sponsored by the National University of Singapore. After I finished the program, I was back to the university teaching until 2003. Then I came into private practice, but still maintained a part-time teaching in the university. So I'm still very much linked to university, and I really appreciate, I really think that postgraduate study really help hone the dentist to be a better dentist that provide dental care. And actually, I'm very happy that my daughter has decided to pursue a residency program after practicing for 2 years. So it is great if she could be following the footstep that she will go into IU too. But of course, I understand that time is actually running very short and the application is close. I have been in touch with Dr. Huwijit. She has been giving me a little bit of tips here and there, and she also told me that the second round of interview was like over. But anyway, since I met up with Chris and she has so kindly and so enthusiastically trying to set up this little help for us, and so then I'm here to meet you and say hi to you, Dr. Lin, and actually I will meet you next year in June because I plan to come from the JFJ refresher course. And in fact, in 2018, I was in IU too. We probably just meet and in passing. Right, so I will just stop over here now, and Chris, thanks so much.
Thank you. So Tung, thanks so much for coming out with us today. It's been a joy to meet you. For Dr. Lin now, tell me a little bit about your undergraduate dental training.
So I spent 5 years in Ireland, in Cork, which is down south from the capital of Dublin. Yeah, I spent 5 years there doing my undergraduate training. It is just a 5-year course straight from high school, so I didn't have to do a degree prior to that. The first 2 years were preclinical, the final 3 years were clinical based, and that's where my undergraduate training was.
And when did you graduate?
I graduated in 2020, so I have been working for the past 2 years. The first year out of uni, I spent it in a private practice. After that, I am currently working at the National Dental Centre in Singapore, specifically in the geriatric and special needs department.
Very good. What got you interested in prosthodontics?
I think for me personally, I guess in my 1 year stint in a private practice, I was working with a bunch of specialists, so it was really nice to see what every specialist was doing. In particular, I guess somehow prosthodontics just seemed a little bit more interesting compared to the others. So that's why I have chosen to hopefully be a resident in prosthodontics.
Very good. And what aspects of prost do you enjoy the most?
I think so. Two things that I feel are a bit more interesting is one is the theoretical part I feel, which is treatment planning, the thought process that goes into deciding what needs to be done. And then the other part is just the execution area. So currently, because I am working at the National Dental Centre, a lot of what I do is actually a lot more disassembling of crowns and bridges. So I've been doing a lot of those and making some crowns. Currently, I have more exposure in fixed pros instead of, I guess, removable. But personally, I do find that since I've been doing it more, fixed prosthodontics seems a bit more interesting.
And you mentioned that you've been dealing with a geriatric population.
Yes.
Tell us more about that group of patients and whether you like treating the older.
Yeah, so actually in the past year in the geriatric department, it's been quite interesting working with the older demographic. It's not always the easiest, and there are various considerations that we have to take into mind when we are trying to plan for any sort of treatment. So that's been, I feel, quite interesting because it's a little bit of a demographic that I guess as a GP you may not always be exposed to. So yeah, it's been quite fruitful. It's been very fruitful actually.
Yeah, good experience.
Yeah.
As you know, prosthodontics, lab work is very central to prosthodontics and what we do. How do you feel about lab work?
I can't lie that I haven't actually gotten very much exposure to lab work. But in the amount that I've done, I do think it's quite interesting. Just that I wish maybe I had more time, perhaps in school, to work in a lab and with more dental technicians so that I can see, I guess, the process of making not just dentures and crowns, but the handiwork, I guess, and little tips.
I think that's one of the side effects of doing a program in the British Isles. I did not do much lab work in my undergrad either, Tung, but I was lucky enough to be in the same lab with your mother, and your mother taught me how to set denture teeth. She was absolutely brilliant at it. Have you participated in any small research projects along the way?
Currently at the National Dental Centre, I am helping Dr. Christina Sim, who is the principal investigator for a tele-dentistry project. So it's particularly aimed at the older demographic and people who are in nursing homes. It's a feasibility study on this intraoral scanner that we are trying to bring in to Singapore and use in a more widespread manner. So the goal is to hopefully help those who are not as mobile, those who are bed bound, seek some sort of, I guess, dental triage, and from there refer them on to primary care if necessary.
That sounds very interesting and a very useful technique if we can get it to work efficiently. What are your long-term career goals?
Personally, in the long term, I still see myself, I guess, as a clinician. I mean, I think academia, teaching, that would be something I guess I would like to explore at some point. But I think I still would prefer being a clinician, doing the actual work, meeting patients, treatment planning, and just hopefully being a good, competent clinician.
Yes, very good. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. I know that this has been hopefully helpful to Dr. Len, and I hope to see you in Indiana one of these days.
Hopefully. Thank you.